Hello, I am Mr. Fixit from EOS Repair. In this video, I will help you understand the truth about updating your PC's drivers. Now, when your computer crashes, what is the first thing that you're always asked to do? Update your drivers. But why? What do drivers do that you have to keep them updated? Well, device drivers are an integral part of the computer. It's a piece of software that is used primarily purpose to provide a bridge between applications and the hardware. Now, instead of software developers having to learn code for every single piece of hardware on the market, manufacturers create the drivers for the hardware. Now, all the developer needs to do in the application is to provide basic instructions for the hardware or software, and the manufacturer's driver will do the rest. Now, to put things into perspective, let's put yourself in the car. Now, your car can't move without you interacting with the controls. So, let's make your car the hardware. You, of course, is the driver, and the GPS that you have is the application or the operating system. Now, with the GPS, you have the route. Okay, now you want to get the car to that destination. However, the GPS doesn't have the ability to instruct the car. This is where you, the driver, come into play. You process the information that the GPS provided. Then you instruct the car to get to the destination. You're driving the car. You're using your steering wheel to make left, right turns, your gas pedal to go to speed up, slow down, your brake pedals. You're doing all these controls to control the car to get to the destination. This is what you're doing. This is a driver. Now, device drivers work on the same principle. An application tells the operating system what it needs. For example, let's say it needs data from a file on the hard drive. The operating system will call up the device driver for the hard drive, provide the instructions what the driver needs from the drive, and the driver then works with the drive to get the data that was requested. And the driver then provides the retrieved data back to the operating system and finally to the application. That is basically what a driver does. Now, there are other types. You have software drivers. Now, this is a type of driver that allows applications to interact with the core of the operating system. This is known as a kernel. You also have bus drivers. Yeah, I know it seems kind of odd considering it's a bus, but bus drivers are used to control the flow of data between hardware devices that's on the bus. So, as you can see, drivers do play an important role on the PC. Now, it is true that the PC to function properly, the drivers need to be up to date. But there's a catch. Over half the drivers installed on your PC will never update. Never. In fact, most of the drivers have not changed since Windows XP's reign. Now, only a handful of drivers have changed in the past decade, while the remaining few has changed within the past year. Now, some devices have specific drivers. Let's take your mouse and keyboard for an example. If you have just a standard mouse and keyboard, like I have here, then chances are those drivers have not changed since Windows XP. But let's say that you have a gaming PC and you have those special gaming keyboards and mouse with all those extra functioning buttons to play in a game. Now, those most likely have specific drivers to accommodate those extra functions. Now, those may also update periodically as the games change or the keyboard may change as well. Now, another good example is the graphics processor. The graphics processor unit, or GPU, is what allows you to see this video. Now, AMD, NVIDIA, and Intel regularly update the drivers for their GPUs. And oftentimes, they have their own software. Now, their updates can range anywhere between once a month to every few months. I've seen some of these, like AMD and NVIDIA, they're changing them like almost once a week. So it's important to make sure that they're up to date. Most drivers are updated through Windows Update, or if you have a Mac, it's called Software Update. Now, Pacific drivers update usually through the manufacturer's website, or they have their own update software. For example, like I said, NVIDIA uses their own software update on the PC, which allows it to download and install the updates for its GPU. Now, let's say that there's a critical driver update. Now, critical driver updates are usually passed through the Windows Updates operating system process. And this is to ensure that the driver is uploaded. So you'll probably hear something that's critical. It'll be passed through Windows Update or Mac Software Update to make sure that it does get installed. Now, here's where the problem starts. Most PC users are not tech savvy and do not know or want to deal with having to check and see if their drivers are up to date. They would rather have someone else do it for them. Now, keeping your PC drivers up to date has become big business, and it is easy to be scammed or misled.
Alright, I went ahead and switched over to my desktop screen because I wanted to show you the importance of these drivers, and I want to show you, the problems that you can run into if you try to update these drivers that have no updates, because there are scams out there. Now, as you can see here, I've opened up Device Manager, and this shows all the drivers that I have installed on this computer. Everything from my audio to my battery backup, my network attached server that I put all my movies on, my hard drives. Uh, as you can see here, everything's on here. My two monitors, my network, the processors, printers. Everything's on here. Last count that I did when I did my last update, there's like 114 on here. That's a lot. I agree. That's a lot. There's 114 drivers are currently installed on this computer. The kicker is 68 drivers on here. Roughly 60% of the total drivers have not changed since 2006. Kid you not. They haven't changed since 2006. For instance, if I go up here and open this up, this is my battery backup. As you can see, it says driver providers Microsoft. Last driver date 2006, and what version it's using. Now, drivers will not always say the manufacturer's name. It's going to go by who provided the driver, whether it's Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, whoever. It will show who provided it. Now, for most drivers, as long as they follow a published specification for the hardware, then Microsoft can go ahead and create the driver. It's in a way kind of like a generic driver, basically, because nothing is special. That's like the keyboard, my battery backup that we're looking at here. The technology that's based on to communicate with it, the functionality, hasn't changed since 2006. Most of it is the USB. Now, USB 2.0 had significant changes to it right before USB 3.0 came out. there was a lot of implementations that were taking place in 2006, which added a lot of new features to USB 2.0. That's why nothing's changed since 2006. Now, as long as a hardware doesn't change or it follows standard procedures, then Microsoft can go ahead and write the driver for it without the manufacturer having to do it. It's basic, simple, Microsoft will take it, which makes things go a lot easier. Now, you'll notice graphics processors like NVIDIA, GeForce, and AMD Ryzen's, or no, Radeons. Sometimes I get them mixed up, sorry. But the Radeons, they frequently change the updates on their drivers. I mean, it's anywhere between weekly to monthly to uh, daily. It seems like they're always constantly changing their drivers, optimizing their GPUs as much as they can, get the most out of them. But as you can see, I mean, this one hasn't changed since 2006. Now, as I was going through here, I found, 68 of these drivers haven't changed since 2006. One of them hasn't changed since 2009. The ones I've got within the last 10 years, uh, there's about 30 of those. And only 16 out of 114 drivers has changed within the past year. Only 16. So it gives you an idea of how often these drivers update. Now, most drivers won't update, but if you have specialized hardware like gaming keyboards, gaming mouse, to where they have all those functionalities for games, you're going to have a specialized driver. And most likely it's going to be newer. Now, when I was checking up my drivers and making sure they're all up to date, I came across something interesting that I wanted to share. And I thought this was pretty fascinating. This right here, excuse me, this right here is the Intel 200 series chipset family thermal subsystem. Now, this was introduced in 2017. Okay. And it controls all the cooling features in the computer. That's its job. It monitors the temperatures and the speed of your fans. That's what this does. All right, now, when you pull up the driver's information about the thermal subsystem, now this controls your cooling, your power management and stuff. No, to help keep the computer cool. That's what this one does. Now, as I said, this was introduced in 2015. But if you look, you'll see driver provider was Intel. The driver date is January 1st, 1970. Why does it have such an old date? I mean, all the rest of them has 2006. Well, I got one with 2009 and 2019 and 14 and so on. Why has this one got January the 1st, 1970? Well, here's where it gets interesting. And you can look this up. Intel uses this date because it's symbolic. Can you guess what this date is? What's significant about this date? Well, 1970 is a very interesting date. This was when Intel released the Intel 1103. It was the world's first commercially available dynamic random access memory chip that we know of as DRAM today. And it only had 1 kilobit. And I always thought that was interesting. But I could understand why the driver shows 1970 instead of 2015 or 16 or, last time it was updated. And the reason for that is, according to Intel, this driver should never change. It's never going to change. And the reason they have it set as such a low date is to prevent updates from changing it or trying to change it. There's no need for this to change. Now, I did find another one. If I open this one, this is the host bridge. This is like the North Bridge and controls the DRAM registers and all that stuff. And when I looked at it, what you know it, it's got another interesting date. This is the second one that I found that's owned by Intel. Now, this is the only Intel PCs that I've had. And I didn't know this until I started, doing this video, researching to find out more about these drivers. And this date here, which is July 18th, 1968, is also significant. Now, this date is the date that Intel was founded. Yep, that's the date they were founded. In July 18th, 1968. Now, according to Intel, these two drivers, and that's the reason they set these drivers with such a date. First, it's symbolic as to why they choose these two dates. And second is to prevent updates from trying to change them. And I'm going to get that here in a moment. And this is what it is. I mean, I thought it was interesting, so I wanted to share that with you. Now, the scary part is updating these. Now, the best place to get updates to your computer is through the manufacturer. And I'm going to show you why. Now, if you go on the internet and let's say you do a search, you type in update drivers, you're going to find something like this. And notice it all says sponsored. All says sponsored. Now, these are third-party companies that are wanting you to feel confident that you can get your drivers up to date. But you have to be careful. There are too many scams out there not to be careful. And let me show you why. I went ahead and installed a program, and I went ahead and did a check. I wanted to see what it would come up with because I've already done an update on this computer. All the updates have been installed. And when I ran this, I'm like, well, wait a minute. How do I have 16 device drivers out of date? And notice this right here where it says device driver. Look at the date. The current one is 7/18/1968, but the available one is 7/18/1968. And it's the one that we just looked at, the host bridge DRAM registers. Now, if I open it up, only one little digit changed. This one right here. Instead of a 7, it's an 8. It's the same exact date, same exact year. Now, according to Intel, this doesn't exist. The only update is this one. And this is why they have such a low date, is to prevent updates from being changed. They don't want these drivers changed, which makes this interesting. So I don't know where this came from. I don't even know if they know about it because they say they have 9 million or billion or something along those lines of drivers database. And I don't know if they test these drivers, if they make the drivers themselves, or how this process is done. I don't know. I can't speak for them. All I know is the database that they're using is difficult to trust because for me, in my experience, I know that something's wrong with this update. because according to Intel, it doesn't exist. If it did, when I did my Intel update, it would have put it on there. Um, let's see another one. If I can find the other one. Yeah, here it is. This is the 1971. Now remember, it says 1/1/1970. This one says 1/2/2018. Now this one, as you can see, it can't read the date. Now it says it's a 4/2, but this one says it's a 4/5, and it last changed in 2018. But look at the driver devices that's using this driver. Remember this one? Yeah, we looked at that one. We got this one here, which is PCI Express. All these are using this driver. But the problem is, according to Intel, that driver never changed. They don't want it changing. If it changes, it's through Intel only. But yeah, this is what draws my question to third-party software claiming that your computer needs updated. I mean, it's like your network adapters. You know, this one says I've got an update on this one, but according to Intel, I don't. Or at least according to my manufacturer, I don't. So if you're going to use these automated software, be very cautious because chances are you don't know where the drivers are coming from, and they may not know either. I don't know if they test them. I can't speak for them, but just use caution. The best way, if you want drivers, is to go to the manufacturer. Now, I will also post the websites to all the manufacturers, everything from Dell Incorporated all the way up to uh, Gigabyte, you know, all of them, Toshiba. I will show all their support pages to help you get where you need to go. For instance, my computer here is a custom built computer. This is the motherboard that's in it. As you can see, it's a few years old. Works great. It does support Windows 11, which I got one of them running Windows 11. This one isn't yet, because right now I'm testing out Windows 11 for a video, but I'll get to that later. Now, I can go to the manufacturer, and if I go down, you know, there's a BIOS update that I could check. Yep, there's one. This one here allows me to run Windows 11, and I'm going to do a whole video over that to help you people be able to upgrade to Windows 11. Now, if I go to downloads, I can select my operating system, which I'm currently running Windows 10, and this shows what all the drivers are available for this computer. And as you can see, these updates are from 2019. And I do have a few that's from 2024. So, you know, this is all I have to do. I can come over here and download my drivers. Now, if you have, let's say, an HP computer, you can go to their website. They also have uh, a program that you can download easily. Let it detect your computer for you, and it will automatically tell you what updates you need automatically. Same thing with Dell. Dell also has a way that you can just either type in the tag number on the side of your computer. It'll tell you exactly what your uh, uh, drivers need to be updated. It also has your support assist. You know, if you're a driver, support assist will automatically do those updates. It's always best to go to the manufacturer. Here's one for Acer. You just type in the serial number, uh, the ID number, the model, whatever. They also have a software you can use. Download it, run it. It will automatically detect your computer model and if any drivers are available for that computer. Easy as pie. And here's one for Gigabyte. You can register your product for warranties, your download center, which is, you enter your model, and then, or you could choose to, if you know what your model is, you can go ahead and select your models. That's all you have to do is to get your drivers from the manufacturer only. And that's what I would highly recommend. There's too many scams out there to bother with doing driver updates because you don't know exactly what's in that driver. I mean, I'm sure they got all good intents and purposes, but it's best to go through the manufacturer first before trying to do any third-party downloads. Otherwise, chances are you're either going to have window problems or you might even get a virus. Well, this concludes this video. I hope it was informative and helped you understand what drivers do and the best ways to get your drivers up to date. Now, be sure to click on the subscribe button and click the bell notification to make sure that you are notified whenever I upload a new video. Be sure to check down below in the description and my website for all the listings for the manufacturer's support pages. Well, I'm your host, Mr. Fixit. Thank you for watching.